Mr. President, Heads of State and Government, Mr. Secretary General, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. President, let me, on behalf of the government and people of Nigeria, congratulate you on your well-deserved election as President of the 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly. I would like to assure you of the full support and cooperation of the Nigerian delegation throughout your tenure. I would like to commend your predecessor, His Excellency Mr. Volkan Bashir, for the many remarkable achievements recorded during his tenure despite the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. Permit me to congratulate the Secretary General Antonio Guterres on his re-election and commend his strong commitment to making the United Nations more alive to its responsibilities. I also want to express my gratitude to him for reappointing Ms. Amina Mohammed as the Deputy Secretary General to assist him in discharging his responsibilities. Mr. President, excuse me, the theme of this year's General Assembly, Building Silence, Resilience through Hope to Recover from COVID-19, Rebuild Sustainability, Respond to Needs of the Planet, Respect the Rights of the People, and Revitalize the United Nations sums up our common desire to rescue our planet, recover our economies, and restore hope to all the peoples of the world. In this regard, my delegation will continue to support the United Nations as the indispensable forum for international cooperation and the cornerstone of the multilateral system rooted in respect for international law, including international human rights law, and predicated on a rules-based order. Mr. President, I want to thank the international community for the concerted response to COVID-19. The solidarity and the drive to contain the first truly global health emergency of our time is a pointer to the many things we can achieve if we work together. On our part, Nigeria has made strenuous efforts to contain the virus and hold its deadly onslaught on our people. Our efforts have been rewarded with moderate success. At the outset, we recognize detection and contact tracing to be important tools in combating the virus. In this connection, from a mere 4 laboratories with testing and detection capacities, we ramped up the facilities to over 140 centers today. Similarly, we built isolation centers and emergency hospitals wards in record time all over the country. We carry out genomic sequencing in designated laboratories across the country with a view to detecting variants in circulation. In addition, over 40,000 healthcare workers have recently been trained on infection, prevention, and control measures with the support of various partners. Nigeria remains grateful for the assistance received from our partners and friends all over the world. Vaccination is the key to our safe emergence from the pandemic. We fully support the COVAX initiative, from which we have benefited. We also thank the United States of America, Turkey, India, China, European Union, and others for the vaccines provided. Despite the acknowledgement, however, I would like to reiterate my call for a fairer and more equitable distribution of vaccines in all countries so that together we can fight and contain the pandemic. The rising wave of newer and more contagious strains makes this even more urgent. No country can afford the socio-economic implications of prolonged shutdown. It is imperative to underscore that no one is safe until everyone is safe. Mr. President, Nigeria remains deeply concerned over the illicit trade, transfer, and circulation of small arms and light weapons. Their excessive accumulation and uncontrolled spread in many regions of the world are having devastating humanitarian and socio-economic consequences, especially on the continent of Africa. It is on this note that my delegation calls for the worldwide application of the Arms Trade Treaty to codify accountability in conventional arms trade, which is critical to the security of nations. This is in recognition of the need for a broad-based global partnership in the ongoing battle against transborder crimes, including terrorism and piracy. Mr. President, we must deal not only with the symptoms of conflict, but also the immediate causes that fuel conflicts in the first place. These include poor and undemocratic governance, human rights abuses, poverty, ignorance, injustice, and inequalities. There are no easy solutions to these conditions. They require long-term investments and more effective international cooperation. In this connection, my delegation underscores the importance of promoting peaceful, unfettered, and inclusive participation of states in global action towards conflict prevention. This will facilitate the achievement of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the African Union Agenda 2063. In West Africa especially, our democratic gains of the past decades are now being eroded. The recent trend of unconstitutional takeover of power, sometimes in reaction to unilateral changes of constitution by some leaders, must not be tolerated by the international community. Nigeria fully supports the efforts of ECOWAS to address this growing challenge and appreciates the support of both the African Union and the United Nations. In this regard, I would like to reiterate that as leaders of our individual member states, we need to adhere to constitutional provisions of our countries, particularly on term limits. This is one area that generates crisis and political tension in our sub-region. Mr. President, Nigeria is fully committed to nuclear non-proliferation and has always supported the view that it should involve all states. Disarmament conventions deserve the support of all states, small, large, nuclear, or non-nuclear. Nuclear weapons remain the ultimate agents of mass destruction, and their total elimination should be the final objective of all disarmament processes within the broad spectrum of goals being pursued by the United Nations. In this regard, Nigeria would participate actively in forthcoming review conference of Nuclear Prohibition Treaty and also the first meeting of states parties to the landmark treaty on the provision of nuclear weapons, scheduled to take place within the first quarter of 2022.
He has already spoken for 10 minutes 36 seconds. This is still Koiki Media live broadcast.
Of a world free
Bubu,
of nuclear weapons.
United Nations 76 General Assembly.
Supportive of any diplomatic efforts in this direction. We hope that the upcoming Nuclear Prohibition Treaty Review Conference will lead to a successful outcome that will facilitate the nuclearization of the world. We will do our part to ensure such an outcome. Mr. President, terrorism continues to dominate security discourse worldwide. In Nigeria, Boko Haram, terrorist group, though fragmented by internal strife and weakened,
the one that you are the leader of Boko Haram,
is still active and preying on soft targets. Nigeria will continue to work closely with United Nations counter-terrorism bodies and entities with a view to bringing this scourge to an end. Nigeria has spared no effort in addressing the challenges of terrorism posed by the activities of Boko Haram in northeast Nigeria, the Lake Chad region, as well as banditry in the northwest and north central. Mr. President, the impact of climate change is already with us in Nigeria, manifesting in various ways. Conflict trigger.
You're listening to the Bubu, the president of the Zoological Republic of Location 419, the 24th of September 2021. So far, he has spoken 12 minutes 36 seconds.
Drought and desertification. As leaders, we must create inclusive and gender-sensitive policies that address all issues connected to climate action for mitigation and resilience. This is why we are working on a transition to low-carbon economy consistent with achieving the Paris Climate Agreement on sustainable development goals. Mr. President, combating illicit financial flows and ensuring the recovery and return of illicit.
I hope you can see his hand.
Acquired.
I'm not sure why he's putting on a face mask in a building like this.
In the immediate term for financing development in the area of COVID-19 pandemic and beyond. It drives national governments of resources needed to provide adequate and meaningful sources of livelihood for their citizens. The latter gives rise to more irregular migration patterns and unwholesome consequences for interstate and human relations. Mr. President, the issue of debt, we have seen that developing countries have been faced with unsustainable debt burdens even before the pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic has increased the risk of a new wave of deepening debt where vital public financial resources are allocated to external debt servicing and payments at the expense of domestic health and financing for critical development needs. Therefore, there is an urgent need to consider expansion and extension of debt service suspension initiative to include all least developed countries and small island developing states facing fiscal and liquidity challenges. Mr. President, Nigeria reaffirms that international trade is
Buhari has now spoken for exactly 15 minutes 4 seconds, 24th of September 2021. The time is 2:45 p.m. here in London. And this is Koiki Media, bringing the world closer to your doorsteps.
Better recovery from this crisis, build resilience to future shocks, and pursue transformative development strategies that can.
He's been reading directly from the book without saying anything off-air.
Mr. President, the global food system has in recent times been impacted by several factors such as population growth, availability and accessibility of arable land and water sources.
Arable land that has been used by the Fulanis to kill as many people, just like Dr. Buhari was killed.
Shocks such as the current global pandemic further exacerbate vulnerabilities in the global food system.
Yes, he's actually reading everything. He's not speaking, he's reading. You're right. Mistake.
Safeguarding human rights, including the advancement, the protection of children.
What children are you protecting? 13 million Nigerians are out of school, Mr. Man.
Treatment of migrants, refugees, returnees, and displaced persons, as well as the promotion of
your government, including Tinubu, APC, Rotimi Amechi, and all the governors, brought in the terrorists in 2015 to fight should Jonathan was not going to leave the power. This is still Koiki Media.
The recent rise in hate-related crimes globally underscore the urgent need to continue our engagement about racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, and other related intolerance. It is sad to know that the issue of racism remains alive globally. We are beginning to forget our affirmation of the inherent.
This is what Tinubu and Co. brought to us in 2015.
Every individual,
and we must kick them out. Yoruba nation now.
No society can claim to be free or just if it is deprived of any one of these rights. Today, racism drives hate crimes and institutional discrimination. In all this, Africans and people of African descent are among the major victims. I am confident that this forum will make significant impact in the quest to end race-related vices and injustice. Mr. President, no reform of the United Nations system is more urgent than that.
Why did your government kidnap rendition of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu? Why has your government kept Omoyele Sowore? Why is your government criminalizing every Yoruba sons and daughters, just like you've tried to kill Chief Sunday Adeyemo Igboho on the 1st of July 2021? I hope you're going to answer that during this your nonsense speech.
15 years, we must avoid going in circles.
Buhari, you tried to kidnap people in 1984. Umaru Diko, you did the same thing with Nnamdi Kanu. You tried to kill Chief Sunday Adeyemo Igboho on the 1st of July. You've charged Lady K and Oladele as terrorism charges, while you are the leader and the sponsor of Boko Haram.
It is unreasonable to expect unanimity in this matter. Mr. President, our organization...
What organization? Fulani organization.
...of the multilateral system, which is also the preeminent body...
And behind him there is Amina, the Deputy General Secretary of United Nations, a Fulani woman.
Protective of us all.
Referendum now is what we want.
Hope for this is dependent on how we assist each other to get COVID-19 out.
He's been talking about just COVID-19. Talk about the self-determination, the Biafra, the Middle Belt, the Lower Niger. Whoever wants to opt out, that is what we want to hear from you, this stupid man.
By paying substantial tribute
Shut up.
to our great and humane internationalist and an exemplary
Your
person
government has killed many Nigerians.
of cooperation.
87 million Nigerians are living in extreme poverty today, the 24th of September 2021. Shut up your dirty, stinking mouth. Boo boo.
Thank you.
He spoke for 20 minutes, 18 seconds. That
On behalf of the General Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for the statement just made, and I request the protocol to escort His Excellency.